Okay, this will be a fun video. I'm going to borrow this lens again, and I'm going to do some comparisons to show people the difference. I'm talking about the 200mm f2 Nikkor, the dumbest lens in Nikon's current lineup. The lens was a hubristic design by Nikon, and I say that boldly, just as is the new lens that is about to be released is a hubristic expression of, look, we got the fastest 200mm autofocus lens in the world. And then, of course, Nikon just came out with, and I've seen a lot of test shots. And I'm going to borrow that lens. Huge mistake. The 105mm f1.4, the pictures from that thing are just abysmal. They're flat, they're awful, bad color saturation. Let's talk about the most ridiculous lens. And I saw a guy on YouTube from Australia, and he was boasting about saving up for that lens. And it's a huge lens. And yeah, I have used it. I'm going to borrow it again, and I'm going to take some test shots against this. And I'm going to crop the shots from this exactly the same. And then I'm going to ask you people to tell me what image looks best. I won't mess with the pictures other than cropping it, to have them the same field of view. Invariably, you guys are going to choose this lens. This lens actually has better bokeh. It's a 2.8. That's an f2. Let's talk about the dumbest lens in Nikon's current lineup. And I feel it's kind of like you look at someone like they just lost a loved one when you hear someone actually bought a lens. That specific lens, the 200mm f2. What's wrong with it? Let's get into specifics, okay? Opinions are like fannies. Everybody has one. They kind of all stink, right? Okay. $5,600. It's insanely heavy. I like heavy lenses. It's 13 elements. Yeah, it is an f2. Here's why that lens is so incredibly stupid. And then I'll talk about comparing it to this, which I've got 6 of these lenses, by the way. 2 of them are out here right now. That lens is not useful for anything. Some stupid wildlife photographers with more money than brains bought that lens, and you can find the reviews online. And they're trying to use that lens. It's like, why would you spend that kind of money just to have a 200 at f2? Well, they try to use that for wildlife photography at f2. The problem is that they will outright admit that nailing the autofocus on the eye is basically impossible. You know, obviously having the lens for portraiture is a consideration, but I'm going to talk in a second about why even that's a stupid idea. The lens is basically useless for wildlife. I mean, you can sit there and stick it in continuous high and spray and pray, and you know, okay, one of the shots out of 12 shots will come out where the eye is in focus. You know, so the wildlife photographers that buy this lens, and the people that buy it, they rationalize owning it because they spent so much money for that enormous, overpriced piece of filth. You know, if anybody says that I'm complaining about this lens because I can't afford it, are you talking to the tattooed guy that owns, you know, over 220 lenses and over a dozen cameras? You think I can't afford it, right? Okay. No, that's not the reason. This lens has much faster autofocus than this, which is the 180mm f2.8. It's a D-series screw drive lens. I can crop this lens and it will look a lot better than that lens will. Let's talk about the difference. This is an 8-element lens. You can find these used all day long for $300 usually on eBay. The color saturation, by the way, you can't add micro contrast in post. I got one of the dumbest comments today, and I get that sort of stupid comment all the time. So, well, you know, it's about image processing. You can take care of that in the computer, color saturation, and no. You know, some things you can take. You can't add micro contrast. You can't add that sort of local contrast in the computer. It cannot be done. What they have called the Zeiss 3D pop or image pop, micro contrast. Okay. Everything about a lens is resolution, phase, gain, and bandwidth. Ultimately, as far as chromatic aberration, sharpness, resolution, micro contrast, and all the other attributes that make up a fine lens. This lens is 8 elements. It's $300 as new used. New, it's $1,000. This lens, compared to the 200mm f2, That lens costs 19 times as much. It is enormously big. Now, it is very fast autofocus. But here's the thing. The lens, the 200mm f2, is useless for wildlife and sports in action at f2. It is friggin' useless because the depth of field is like... whoosh. The only people that love that kind of crap are bokeh sluts that are brain dead and have more money than brains. Okay, so it's useless at f2. He's like, well, I could use this lens. It's really fast autofocus. You know, I've seen people use it. I was like, yeah, okay. Tell me what aperture they were using at 200mm as the car was running the track or the basketball. Oh, I was taking it up. Okay, so they spent $6,000 almost on an f2 lens, and they're never using it at f2. Why? Because the depth of field is like that at f2. So you just spent $5,600 on a damn lens that you can't use for any action, sports, or wildlife. Oh my God, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you're an idiot. Okay, let's talk about portraiture. Normally, you know, if you're talking about human creatures, they kind of like, they take modeling directions like stand there, you know, pose like this. So you don't have an issue. You can nail the depth of field. They're going to stand still for you. In which case, that super fast silent wave motor that's inside that $5,600 is useless. You don't need fast autofocus. You see the screw drive on this lens right here? This is more than fast enough for any sort of modeling, portraiture, baby shots, you know, any chicks, babes, dudes, group photos, babies, you know. So, great. Okay, so now what again did you spend $5,600 on? What again did you spend $5,600 on? I'm going to borrow that lens again here very, very soon. I've already been talks of borrowing it. I'm not going to buy that lens. No. Just because I can buy a lens doesn't mean I am going to buy a lens. It's a piece of junk. It's $5,600 of status symbol for Nikon. The same way that new... Now guys, we got the fastest 200mm lens in the world. It's a f2 200mm. Yay, it's enormous. It weighs over 9 pounds and is totally friggin' useless at f2 for anything that is moving faster than a tortoise. Yeah! Stupid! Stupid! You know, I don't care if you're insanely rich. It's like, that lens is sexy, man. I'm going to put that lens on my Nikon. I'm going to go out there and be like, man, look at this. I've got the shiznits. I've seen people like that. They got these enormous... It's like, why do you have that lens? It's expensive and it's fast. You got button snippers and you got bokeh sluts. You know what a bokeh slut is? I don't care how good the lens is. That front element is friggin' huge and it gives me a stiffy. Oh, that's sexy. It costs a lot of money. That means it's got to be good. Oh, really? How many years of experience with lenses do you have? What the hell do you know about optics and image rendition? It's like a wino judging wines based upon alcohol content and nothing more. It's fast. Yeah. Okay, so we know it's useless for sports action and wildlife. Okay. Portraiture. When I borrow that lens again, I'm going to take exact shots with that lens and this lens. I have 6 of these. Everybody who bought this lens on my recommendation loves the hell of it, for good reason. I want you to check the Flickr pages for both of these lenses, the 200mm f2 and this lens, the 180mm f2.8. Nikon still makes this lens. New, it's $1,000. Used, they've been making it for a long time. If you find this lens used, $300 all day long. So, yeah, that lens that costs 19 times as much is worse. You cannot use it for any sports action or wildlife at f2. That's why I'm using this 200mm f2 lens at the racetrack, the basketball game, you know, the swimming event. I said, oh, that's good. Yeah, let me see your pictures. Let me see your pictures. Oh, this one's at f4. This one's at f5.6. This is one is f8. Yeah, what's your point? My point is that you just spent $5,600 on an f2 lens. You're never able to use it f2. Jesus bleeping friggin' hell. I mean, what is wrong with people? I bought it because it's huge and it's expensive. It is like a substitute for my small wiener. That's what their subliminally their thought was when they bought that lens. Can you rationalize it for portraiture? No, because this has better micro contrast, better rendition, better color saturation than that lens does. I will provide test shots soon, and I'll show you the difference. And you will pick this lens as the better image between those two. This lens, it costs 19 times less than that lens. So, and this is the lens the person down under was recently bragging about getting. Well, you know, that's awesome. You got a really, really big, expensive lens that is useless at f2. It's like, well, this lens is fun to take out. You know, great. So you're never using it at f2 with anything that's moving faster than a constipated turtle. Then what the hell did you buy an f2 200mm for? The right tool for the right job. If you want to piss away $5,600 on a status symbol that Nikon created for its own imaging, you know, we're Nikon. We have the fastest 200mm in the world. It's an f2. That is why Nikon created that lens, not because it fills a spot. There's an old saying that says it's this product, not this one. This product is an answer to a question nobody was asking. That was what that lens was. That lens is an answer to a question that nobody was asking. Hooray! Nikon!